Hello, America. I'm Mark Levin, and this is Life, Liberty, and Levin Sunday. Welcome. What a powerhouse show. We have two great guests, Senator Ted Cruz and Governor Ron DeSantis. I want to cover an issue that's very, very important. Very important. And that is our country, its survivability. What kind of place do we want to live in? We're kind of caught in a pincer movement right now. We have on the left Marxist Islamists, Jew haters, American haters, and they're proud of it. They're out of the closet, full-throated. They're being funded heavily by billionaires through dark money, through foreign governments, through others, CARE, even Hamas. Then we have on what I call the fascistic right, we have people who claim the mantle of MAGA. They're not MAGA. They're not America first. They don't even know what that means. And who do they embrace? Well, you pick an enemy. They embrace them all, but they're doing more than that. They're giving aid and comfort to the left, to the Marxists, to the Islamists, to the America haters and the Jew haters and the Christian haters. And we know who they are. They always say, oh, I only have questions. Oh, I only want to debate. These people are to be dismissed. They are political lepers. That's what they are. We ought not be platforming them. We ought not engage them in any rational or intellectual way. We need to dismiss them and reject them. We, you, the world have dealt with this before. Marxists, radical Islamists, fascistic types, we've dealt with all this. What's the debate? We have a debate of ideas. You must be a coward. It's not a question of being a coward. It's a question of being rational. No, I can't on the one hand say that these people need to be rejected and then on the other turn into Jerry Springer. That's not going to happen. Let's talk about our country. Let's start at the beginning, or close to the beginning. We're going to be celebrating 250 years since the founding of this nation. Now, to be perfectly accurate, it's 250 years since the Declaration of Independence, come July 4th this coming year. The revolution actually began in 1775. A relative small number of citizens standing up to the British. And you know the story. Now, that said, what makes America different from every other country in the world, including these European countries with parliaments and so forth? What is it about America? Well, John Locke, one of the great philosophers of the Enlightenment period, on whom the founders of this country relied during the American Revolution, he said what makes it different. America's a blank slate. Never had a king, never had a queen, never had a feudal system. Those people over there, those colonists, whomever they are, they're very independent. That's who they are. America is different. Our history is not the history of all the rest of these European countries. Even though we imported some of their great ideas, particularly from Britain and France, ancient Greece, and who else did we import our ideas from? Who else? And it was crucial. The ancient Hebrews and the Christians. America is different for a couple of key reasons. The Judeo-Christian belief system and history, and the Enlightenment, the fusion of the two. There's not another country on the face of the earth, bar perhaps Israel, that has been founded on such a basis. Judaism, ancient Hebrews, are talked about all the time by the founders. The Christian belief system is talked about all the time by the founders. Same with the Enlightenment, John Locke, Montesquieu, and others. And so as a result of that, we get this Declaration of Independence from the Second Continental Congress in July 4th, 1776, where people with disparate backgrounds from different colonies, different geographies, different economic priorities and so forth, come together and say, we must confront what was the most powerful military in the world, the British. Even though the battles were going on in New England, New York, Massachusetts, that sort of thing, it didn't matter. They came along. South Carolina, Georgia, so forth and so on. Well, what were they fighting for? It's called the Declaration of Independence. They declared what they're fighting for. The Declaration is based on a few crucial principles. Number one, there's a God. Number two, he's sovereign. Number 3, we are his children. Number 4, as a result, on earth, we are sovereign when it comes to, among other things, governance, we the people. Number 5, there are eternal truths, the 10 Commandments, the Golden Rule, so forth and so on. What else? What else? We have unalienable rights. That is, rights as individual human beings, no matter who we are, from God, not from government. In fact, they're to protect us from government. What else? That we have a right to a government that represents our interests, not the interests of a relative few, a faction, or anything of that sort. Crucially important. Then we get around to the Constitution. They look at what? The Declaration. If you look at the Ninth Amendment, I would argue, the Ninth Amendment is a very concise statement of what is the Declaration of Independence. But what about all the rest of this? The Constitution, the separation of powers, checks and balances, all this stuff comes out of the Enlightenment. Now, these men at the Constitutional Convention, they're looking at the Declaration, they're looking at the Judeo-Christian belief system, and they're looking at the Enlightenment. Now, they're also looking at Athens and Rome and learning from ancient history. But these are the key parts. And what does the Enlightenment tell them? What did we talk about before? Power must check power. Because even the most virtuous people are not always virtuous. And the more they are concentrated in terms of power, and the fewer and fewer that have this power, the less virtuous they are. That's human experience. That's what it is. And so they have all this in mind, Judaism, Christianity, hence the Declaration of Independence, sovereignty, the people, the Enlightenment, we've got to check power with power, hence separation of powers. Montesquieu was the most specific about it, a judicial, an executive, and a legislative, which is what we have. And so this is the fantastic country that was created like no other. There's not another country on earth that has created what we have created. And what has it resulted in? The greatest country on the face of the earth. Why? Because we have a declaration and we have a constitution. Well, that's part of it. But because you, Mr. and Mrs. America, you embrace it. You defend it. We have people in our families that have fought overseas, fought here in the United States, American against American during the Civil War. To do what? To defend our Constitution, to defend our Declaration, to defend our country. From what? From tyranny. Tyranny comes in many forms. Tyranny can be domestic. Tyranny can be foreign. Let me cut to the chase. When you have people into this country, many of them newly into this country, who talk about replacing our system, replacement theory is no longer a theory, it is a reality. Who talk about imposing Islamism and Sharia law on our society. Because that's what you saw when Mandami gave his victory speech and the people in his audience that he personally invited to attend. That's what you saw, that's what you heard, that's what they believe. And if you are a fundamentalist, radical Islamist, as Mandami is, as Sarsour is, as CARE represents, as the money flowing in from these countries represents. If you're going to stand with Hamas supporters, stand with people who supported the taking down of our Twin Towers of 9/11 and our Pentagon in central Pennsylvania, that's who you are. That's what you are. And they're out of the closet. We have imams. We have small city mayors. We have big city mayors, a really, really big city mayor coming now, who believe this. And they also believe, not in the fusion of Judeo-Christian belief systems with the Enlightenment, but the Islamist belief system with Marxism, which I've been talking about over and over again. Hence, Bernie Sanders and people of his ilk, true believers, true communists. So you have communism, Islamism, both of which are what? Utterly and completely incompatible with the founding of this nation. The Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. Utterly incompatible. And so they hate them. They want to destroy them. They attack them. Some of them do it straight on. Some of them try and camouflage it. They have different tactics, different strategies. But in order for their ideologies to flourish, they have to destroy what exists. Then we have, on the fascistic, neo-Nazi, radical right, and by the way, I'm not talking about constitutional conservatives, not in the least. We're not on the radical right. We're right in the center. And I don't mean ideologically, I mean we're right in the center. We support the Constitution, the Declaration, the founding, and everything that was done to create this nation. How can we be right-wing? Right-wing of what? These people are not America first. America first isn't evil over good. America first isn't tyranny over liberty. America first isn't sounding like the Marxist, Islamist, anti-American Jew haters. That's not American at all. That's not America first, second, or third. No, they're aiding and abetting people who want to destroy the country. They want to destroy the country. You have individuals in that ilk, in that cabal, who talk up Hitler, who platform people who talk up Hitler. You have individuals who talk up Stalin, who platform people who talk up Stalin. You have individuals who defend Hamas as a political movement, not a terrorist movement. How many people have been slaughtered, Americans, by the Islamists? The Islamists have killed more Americans, as Victor Davis Hanson so brilliantly pointed out in the Free Press, than any other entity since the end of World War II. Did you know that? When we were hit on 9/11, we took a bigger hit than we took at Pearl Harbor. Are you aware of that? There's a lot of young people who aren't. They're being brainwashed to the opposite. If Stalin had had his way, America wouldn't have even existed. But we're told, no, Eisenhower was wrong. We're told Churchill's the bad guy. Hitler's misunderstood. And these guys, they are desperate for normal, regular Americans to debate them. To debate what? They belong in a mental institution. The point is, I despise them because they're trying to use the cover of conservatism in the American flag to justify the unjustifiable. That is what we are facing right now in our country. The problem is these people, the neo-Nazi fascists on the extreme right, they're the weak underbelly of this republic. You know, the other side, they know what they stand for, they're fighting. They're bringing people into the country who agree with them. They fight assimilation. They're trying to reach out to young people through Marxist propaganda, and we'll give you something for nothing. And they use Saul Alinsky tactics. Rich people are bad. You know, get the Jews, get the Christians. The others, they want you to believe that you stand for them. Are you unhappy? Are you down on your luck? Aren't you sick and tired of what's going on? Well, join us. Join you to do what? We've seen their type before, Mr. and Mrs. America. We've seen it in Europe. We've seen it in Germany. We've seen it in the United States in the 1930s, although it wasn't this bad. In the 1930s. Look at it this way. What do you think the founders of your country would think of these people who claim that they represent the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, that they represent the will of God, as pointed out in the Declaration, or the Enlightenment, when they're siding with Hamas, when they're siding with Hitler, when they're siding with Stalin? What do you think? What do you think our founders would think if they knew who Hitler was and they knew who Stalin was? And all? Who do you think they'd be siding with? Well, they clearly didn't side with the King of England, did they? The King of England wasn't anything like what we're talking about now. And here's the other thing. These people I'm talking about, they trashed President Reagan, who defeated the Soviet Union. They trashed President Trump, who took out the nuclear sites in Iran. Our President of the United States, who's peace through strength, who's a very practical man, an incredibly patriotic man, they're stabbing him in the back too. They try to steal MAGA. They try to steal America first. But these people are reprobates. They're reprobates. So here's the deal. The 250th anniversary is coming up. What are we celebrating? Our great founders, the men and women who fought the Revolutionary War, who fought it for liberty, for sovereignty, for representative government, for what we now call capitalism. They didn't fight it for genocide. They didn't fight it for all these other causes that somehow have become popular. This is our generation's war. It's a non-fighting war. But it's more daunting, it's more complicated, because it's from within. Abraham Lincoln talked about the enemy within. President Trump has talked about the enemy within. Well, they're here. They're here on the Marxist Islamist left, and they're here on the neo-Nazi fascistic right. They're here right now. They've devoured many of our institutions in our culture. They've devoured most of academia. The President of the United States is pushing back. He's pushing back hard. But we have a responsibility too. And what is that responsibility? This is our country. We're celebrating our country. Every July 4th, we're celebrating the principles that undergird our country. If you reject Judaism and you reject Christianity and you reject the link of the two, you reject the Bible. If you reject Judaism and Christianity and the brotherhood and the sisterhood of the two, not only are you rejecting our founding, you're rejecting our country. You're pushing some other agenda, whatever that agenda may be. We have a responsibility as tens of millions of patriotic, America-loving people to do what? To talk, to speak out, to reject people like this, to offer alternatives, freedom, to offer alternatives, representative government, to offer alternatives, an economic system that works. You know, I even hear people going on about affordability. I did an entire program last week on capitalism. Affordability? The problem they have in Marxist, socialist regimes is availability. They don't have things. People say the vote was about affordability. No, the vote in New Jersey wasn't about affordability because they voted for the party that's made New Jersey unaffordable. With the massive property taxes that keep rising and the massive electricity bills that keep rising. That's not affordability. We have a bigger problem. Affordability may be one of many issues, but we've opened our country to people who hate it, where we don't assimilate, where the institutions that used to assimilate have been devoured by the left. And we have a problem to put up a defense of this country, constitutional conservatives, you folks, Mr. and Mrs. America. It's we who have to defend it intellectually, defend the ideas. And we, you and me, our movement, our belief system is under attack by these fascists who are trying to steal the American flag and promote their hate and vile through it.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.